Hello, everybody. This is Ellie. I'm part of our customer success team here at New Order, and I'm hosting today's Wednesday webinar all around smart groups. So in today's webinar, we're going to cover a quick recap on what smart groups are in the new 4.0 release, how you set them up, how they get updated, and then just some general best practices and why they matter when you're sending out things like campaigns in New Order 4.0. So let's get started. So I'm here in my outdoor portal here in New Order 4.0, and I want to quickly just point out a couple navigational features around smart groups. You can actually access smart groups here in the pop-out tray, and then when you're sending out campaigns as well, once smart groups are set up, that's really where you'll actually be accessing all of your smart groups. But in order to set them up, we're going to start here. So navigate here. And I want to, before we actually walk through the steps of setting them up, I just want to give everybody, a quick download on what smart groups are and kind of how to think about them in New Order. So smart groups are very similar to a typical email distribution list where you can create a group of recipients that have, kind of like attributes or like features and send campaigns to that specific group. This is in place of, typing each email independently, into the recipient field. Smart groups will allow you to create that distribution list and have it really, forever until you decide to either edit it or delete it. It's very similar to our send to multiple addresses feature in 3.0, where you used to mass blast line sheets from the little envelope icon in a line sheet. So it's a similar kind of feature. It's just got a little bit more bells and whistles to it. And the main kind of difference that I think is awesome, and it's really the most exciting difference between smart groups in 4.0 and mass blasting in 3.0, is that smart groups automatically update each time new customers are added that meet the criteria of that smart group. So this will make more sense when I start to walk through how to set them up. So real quick, just where we are right now, we're in the Smart Groups tab that I navigated to over here. And once you set up your smart groups, they'll queue up here in kind of a list here. We only have a couple of examples, but as I start to add more, there'll be more, and you can kind of scroll through. You can kind of refine and try to search, the date you created your smart group if you want to search for it. But right now we just have a couple examples. So I'm going to run through how to set this up from the beginning. So you'll want to click Create New first. And what happens when you select Create New is that your entire customer list, your buyer list will populate. And that's expected. So don't worry when you see, this huge long list of all of the clients that are attached to you in New Order. This is expected. It actually starts out with the largest list of clients, and then what you're going to do is actually kind of whittle that list, narrow it down based on certain criteria. So, we have a couple of kind of predetermined criterias, such as state, country, and zip code. And these are kind of, just the go-to attributes that you can start to narrow this list down from. But we also have this field up here called searchable fields. Now, searchable fields are basically, any attributes that might live in your company data, such as sales rep. Maybe you organize your clients by what type of product they buy. They buy only hard goods or only men's wear versus women's, different attributes within the product or in the customer data, excuse me. That's really what this searchable fields criteria is for. So let me actually show you how to set up. I'll do a couple different scenarios. Two things to note. This is saving as you're going. So there's, you'll notice there's no save button here. And it's just kind of like, when you're in Gmail, it just auto saves. So that's the nice thing. You should, start by entering a smart group name. So I'll put, let's see, Friction Labs group, because I'm going to show you how to do a test on setting a smart group for a specific company. You can always put a description here if that helps you. It's not required. And then you can decide either now or later if you want to make this smart group public or private. You know, it's defaulted to private always, but you can always share this with other users, other brand users. So my test smart group here is going to be based around a company. I want to set it up so that, you know, when I go and send a campaign, I can send one specifically for this Friction Lab group. So I'm going to start searching. So you'll see it's predictive, so it'll actually find what I'm looking for. And when I selected this searchable field, you know, just as a before, you'll notice I've got all my things up, all my customers have loaded. Once I select this, now it's actually whittled it down to all buyers that belong to this company, Friction Labs. So this is the criteria I've set, and this is the list that's returned. Now, you might want to, you know, create a smart group with a couple of different companies, right? You might not want one, you know, just one per company. That might not make sense for your business needs. So let me show you how you can do that. So I'm going to add another company that I know, you know, is in my portfolio of clients, Blake's Outdoor World. And now I've got a smart group with both Friction Labs buyers and Blake's buyers. So I can change this and say Friction Labs plus Blake's. And now I've got my updated smart group. So this is one way, right? You know, you have a series of companies that maybe they buy similar things, and you kind of treat those buyers in the same way, or those dealers in the same way. You can absolutely create a smart group around that. I'm just going to show you real quick that this actually already saved. So if I navigate out, here's my new smart group. If I had a description, it would be here, and it shows that I created it and the timestamp. And here's really where I can go back in and edit or delete it. Or you can simply just click on it and edit it again. So that's one way, you know, to think about smart groups. Let me do one more test just to kind of show you guys what else you can do. So that was a searchable field, and that was something specific like company. Let's say you want to create a smart group around a state. So all of your customers that fall into state California, let's say. You can simply search the state code here. And now I'm creating a smart group that is only buyers and companies that have California in that customer data. So now I can say CA group, and that's all saved. So I can just say buyers in California. And I'll navigate out again. And now that's here. And just to kind of close the loop, before we talk about, you know, how these are updated, I want to actually quickly navigate to campaigns, because I want to show you the smart groups that I just set up. So if I'm in campaigns, or, you know, you can be in a line sheet as well, or a custom list. You don't have to start a campaign from here. You can really start it from anywhere. And I'm going about my day, and I'm sending out my test campaign. Now I'm going to actually search for my new smart group. And here's my Friction Labs and Blake's Outdoor World smart group that I just created. So this is here, and really this is kind of the beauty of, you know, smart groups, is that instead of entering all of those recipients, you know, let's say there's 6 or 10 or 20, they're all in here. And I know that because I actually just set that up, right? So there's a little bit of peace of mind there. So the next thing I wanted to cover is how smart groups are updated. So there's a couple of different ways that smart groups are updated, and I want to just break it down between integrated brands and non-integrated. You know, the way that they're updated is the same. It's just whether or not your data is being synced over from an ERP. So for integrated brands, you know, that's where your customer data is, you know, being synced over at a certain time each day from your ERP system, whether it's, you know, NetSuite or Stitch Labs or whatnot. Each time that customer data syncs over from the ERP with any new customer records, if those customers meet the criteria of your smart group, let's just say you added a new buyer that, you know, buys for Blake's Outdoor World, and you sync them, they get synced over from the ERP automatically, as they do on an everyday basis. Those new buyers will actually automatically be populated into this smart group because you've already set it up. So the key here is obviously you want to set it up first and set your criteria. But as long as you add any net new buyers that meet that criteria, they will always be added into your smart group. And that's really why they're smart is, on the back end, it knows, okay, this buyer is part of Blake's Outdoor World company, pop it into the Friction Labs and Blake's group smart group. The same kind of logic goes for non-integrated brands. The only caveat to that is that, you're not getting that data from the ERP. You are updating that data in admin and you're reloading your buyer data each time you have new customers or new accounts, or you're adding it, directly in the UI in the contacts tab. But the same logic holds, meaning when you update either that buyer data Excel file or you update the contacts tab with just, a new buyer, as long as they meet those criteria requirements, a new buyer for Friction Labs, it will populate into this smart group. So the only difference is just that you're manually maintaining that data. Okay, so let's navigate back to smart groups again. So let's just quickly talk about, best practices for smart groups and kind of, what depending on the role, what types of smart groups you might create and why that's important. So for example, for reps, if you're a sales rep and you have, you're starting your smart groups, you've got all your clients, it may be important for you to break down your clients, like as in this example, using company as a criteria or using region, specifically. So California or Florida or New York, and really trying to kind of narrow it down by region. And you can even go as low as, zip code. If I actually go back in here, one of the criteria here is zip code. So, your clients best. So however you want to organize that down to a pretty granular level, you can. The other thing is, as long as a reminder, as long as there's a searchable field in your customer data that indicates, whether it's a men's client or a hard goods client or ski versus bike, as long as that data exists in the customer data, you can create a smart group around that as well, which will really help you pinpoint your client outreach. More specifically for managers, sales managers or territory managers or even admins, one, really useful smart group to create is with, specific reps. So you as a manager or an admin may have a huge list, a huge company list of, hundreds and hundreds of buyers because, you can see all of your sales reps contacts. So one way to really easily navigate this is to actually whittle it down to who the actual sales rep is. And then save that and just say, okay, I know this is my Ray sales rep smart group. So smart groups really, allow you to get more surgical kind of with your client outreach. And I'm actually going to navigate back to campaigns real quickly. Smart groups allows you to create, specific custom lists for certain groups of clients. And, one best practice that we like to message with campaigns specifically, and this, carries down to smart groups, is it's a really good way that for you to kind of like test different campaigns, whether you're testing the time of day that you send the campaign out or the week, the day of the week, let's say a Tuesday versus a Friday. You can also test, what's inside the campaign, right? Like what products are in the campaign, plus who you sent it to, right? So if you send 10 specific styles to your Blake's Outdoor World Smart Group and you send 10 different styles to them, maybe you can measure, which styles actually got a reaction. And that's really, where the campaigns piece comes into play in tandem with the smart groups. You set up a smart group around a certain set of buyers or a certain region, and you test to see, when I mass blast this campaign out or this custom list out to these, this specific smart group, do I get a lift in my business? Do I see that conversion rate? If I don't, maybe I go back to the drawing board and I send out a different custom list, or I blast a predetermined line sheet. So that's really, what the importance of, creating those smart groups so that they're readily available, and B, really leveraging those smart groups as you're sending out these campaigns so that you can start to get a little more specific about your own actions in New Order and kind of what the outcome is, be able to follow it all the way through the pipeline. So that is setting up smart groups, what they are, how to set them up, how they get updated, and then what best practices for smart groups and campaigns are in New Order 4.0. Thank you.